You ready for us to get started with the neighborhood data?
Ready to get started, and I'm dropping the link to the quiz right now.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. So we're missing some people from the previous days. I guess they weren't listening to me about how important today is. But the point of Masterclass is to get you all in line, understand the tools, and really, really be able to maximize your PriceLabs. We talked about setting your base price, your minimum price, understanding the basics of PriceLabs. We looked at the minimum stay recommendation engine yesterday, and that to me was one of the most exciting things I've been able to share on here. Hopefully you all got in there and tinkered with it and saw some incredible results out of that. But today we are going to talk about the neighborhood data tab. So give me 1 second. Let me share my screen and we will get it started. All right, so everybody should be able to see my screen. Let me move my little camera guy off of here. So again, we're looking at the neighborhood data tab. If you're curious where that is, when you come in from your pricing dashboard and click review prices, you're going to see this view right here. This is your calendar view. You've got a couple of other options. You've got neighborhood data and hotel data. Not going to cover hotel data, but if you want to, hop in there and check it out. It's us pulling in some of your local hotels and giving you a little bit of extra data to look at and compare to. But neighborhood data is, in my opinion, the place where you can become a true master with PriceLabs. There's a lot in here. There's a lot of graphs. There's a lot of lines. There's a lot of colors. So I'm going to take some time today and go through these and help you understand what it is that we're looking at. So first things first, I think I have this in the original state that most people see it in. So the first thing I want to point out from here is what we are comparing to. So we've got the colors back here, but we want to talk about what we're actually comparing to. So if we look over here to the right, I can see this property is my 2-bedroom that's in Chicago, and I'm comparing to 1-bedrooms and 3-bedrooms that are in this hyper local market. Now, if you want to know what is in these 1 and 3-bedrooms, let's just take this bad boy all the way down here, and you've got a nice little breakdown right here of them. So you can see what it is, what all is in here in neighborhood data right now. I've got 144 2-bedrooms, got 68 1-bedrooms, and 84 3-bedrooms that we're looking at right now. And then I can see kind of the breakdowns of the percentile of their pricing as well. So this is kind of useful, but I just want you to know that this is kind of where it tells you what it is that's powering it. You have a way of changing this though. So right up here in this gearbox, what I would suggest, if you know what your bedroom type is and you want to compare specifically to it, let's just dial this in and make it a little bit more correct, so to speak. So what I want to do, I'm going to come back in this box, I'm going to hit apply, but I want you to watch what happens to the colors on this future prices graph that you see. All right, so now we are only looking at 2-bedrooms, so I'm more dialed in. Now I'm looking at the 2s. I want to talk a little bit about what we're looking at right here in this initial state. So this black line, as you can see, that's your final price. That's the price that's coming from PriceLabs right now. There's also a last seen price that you can kind of see in some areas. That's going to show you where it was last seen. So basically how PriceLabs has changed your rate. We look right here, you can see a little bit of a dip right there from where our rate has changed. So I'm going to hide these real quick. One beautiful thing about this area in PriceLabs, you click on it, you can hide it, and then you can click right back on it and bring it back if you want to. So what these colors are, the 25th to 50th percentile is going to be gray, 50th to 75th percentile, that's going to be the darker pink, then you got light pink over here. You can think of it this way. If your rate is going above that lighter pink, you're overpriced over the whole market. If you're underneath that gray, you're underneath the entire market as well. So I've got that in there. How do we actually use this though? That's the main thing that you want to look at. So how are we different? What are the opportunities? Where can I potentially move some things around? We've got some buttons up here that are going to be really useful for you. First one I'm going to hit my last year bookings, and you're going to see some blue lines come up. That is plotting for us exactly what we got as our ADR last year in those bookings. Helps you understand where your rates are at, if you're in line with where you should be, if you're going to achieve what you were going to get last year. I'm also going to hit this my upcoming bookings, and it's going to bring green lines in for you. So when I click that, you can see I've got a nice long stay right here that it plots. So using this can help you understand if that rate curve that you see that's coming from your base price is actually where you kind of want it to be. This is a super useful area. You've also got this, so you can go out and look at a shorter date range if you want to, so we can kind of really see what we've got here. You can also go further out to a full year if you want to and see what you've got there. Now, I'm just going to hit kind of everything. I kind of glossed over this AI Insights. AI Insights is just going to break this graph down for you. And yeah, so we can see it right here. Breaks it down for you, gives you a couple of good tips and tools. You can see that we've got some really nice demand here coming in the summer, then towards the end of summer as well. So this is really, really nice to see. If you want to, definitely suggest taking a look at that. If you are somebody that is I proudly say I'm a data geek, so I have no problem saying that. If you're somebody that likes to work in Excel, you're a data geek, hit the CSV button. You get a CSV download. Once that comes in, it's going to have every single thing that is in this neighborhood data for you. You can pull it into Excel and work on it if you want to. But don't think, yeah, I'm just kill that off. No point in bringing that up. Now we've got a couple of extra things. So I'm going to turn some of this off so we don't get too noisy with it. But I want us to look over here at these three dots now. So now you got a couple of different things that we can add into this view. This market booked price is if we have seen at least 5 bookings in your market, we're going to plot the median booked price for you. So it's a little red line that you can see right there, but that goes to show you where people are actually booking right now if we're looking at that median level. You can also come in over here. You see, we've got events and holidays. Those are plotted down here at the bottom. So if you want to see what the event is, you can see it. You've also got what is called price evolution. This will bring up a couple of other options for you. So we've got that black lines where our rate is at right now. You've also got some other ones down here that you can see. So if you wanted to see where your price was at 30 days ago, you can click right here and have that one in there. Now, obviously, this is going a little slow and looks kind of wonky now. Let me turn some of these bad boys off. So now I can see that that is where that blue line is where my rates were at 30 days ago. Very helpful for looking back at how you've performed or where your rates have been historically. So turn all those off. Take that last scene off as well. We've got a whole bunch of mess in here. I'm going to clean it up though. Turn that back off. Anything that you set up in here, like if you want your upcoming bookings to consistently show in here, all you got to do is click it once and it's going to save it for you. So the way I like to look at this, I always want to have my bookings plotted so I can make sure my rates kind of fall in line with that. Keep in mind, green is this year booking, blue is last year booking. All right, so now we've kind of covered this a little bit. If you have any deeper questions about the future prices chart, you can click right here and learn a little bit more. I'll pop out to our help article. Now let's get down to occupancy. And this is my baby. I love this spot. So what we're looking at right now, you've got 3 colors essentially. You've got white over here, you've got gray right here, and you've got red going down through here. This gray in the background implies that you're booked. This white in the background implies that you are available. This red line right here that we're looking at is where the market, based off of what we selected up here, where that market segment is actually at occupancy wise right now as of today. So if I look right here, I can see I'm booked, but Saturday, June 7th, the market's around 75% booked. You also see it's got a little indicator saying, hey, we're going down 10%. The market is performing poorly compared to last year behind that. Now, if you want to see that, all you got to do is come here and hit add last year data, and it's going to give us 2 new lines. The first line to look at is this one way up here up top. That is going to be where that date finished last year occupancy wise. So if I look right here at this one, the market finished at 50.7% on January 17th of 2025 or I'm sorry, the comparable day. So Saturday, January 16th of 2025, it finished at 50% right there. So when we're looking at that, that's helpful to understand like, hey, okay, this weekend right here, we're going to finish hopefully around 90% booked up by the time we get to October 11th. Now, turn some noise off here. I'm going to turn that last year final off. And let's pay attention now to just this gray one and the red one. The gray one is going to be the same market's occupancy as of today, but last year. So this is considered pacing. And what we're doing is looking at this and saying, starting right here, if we're looking at our area where we are available, the market is technically pretty far behind as we go down through here. We're 17% behind here. We are 15% behind here, 10% behind here. And again, this is market. This is not me and how I'm performing. This gray in the background back here and this white is how I'm performing. I can look over here and see, okay, that one right there is, whoo, buddy, that one's pacing way behind. This will help you understand a little bit if, hey, do I need to make a manual adjustment? Do I need to pop in and say, okay, I can see, and PriceLabs is going to see too, that this Friday, October 10th is not as occupied as it was last year. Maybe now that you have this knowledge, you hop in and say, well, let me go up to my October 10th, see what my prices look like. Okay, I'm priced pretty high. My price is $325. And if you look at those market percentiles, I'm falling in the 75th to 90th percentile. So what that means is my price is really, really high in this market, but the market is essentially saying, I don't think we're going to be as busy as possible. You could use this information now, come over to your calendar, go to October 10th, and do something manually if you wanted to intervene before PriceLabs did. You can go in and say, hey, let's take 10% off of this day. Maybe you get a booking a little bit further out. That's a good way to kind of look at this. Now, the other area that's super, super important with this, and you've got AI insights here. I'm not going to click on it, but that one is very useful if you want to take a look at it. Add pickup is very, very important. And before I do this, I'm going to turn market occupancy off. And we're just going to get two really small lines that kind of hover down at the bottom over here. So what this is, and that's actually one line, sorry. I don't have I didn't do last year data. So there we go. Let's do last year data. Got market occupancy off. Turn that one off. Turn that one off. Now I've got my two lines. Red again is this year. Gray is last year. To make it cleaner, I'm going to hide that 7-day for last year. So this little itty bitty line that we're looking at right now is called pickup. And it is the last 7 days in this overall market that we've selected. Keep in mind, that's always going to be based off of whatever it is that selection is. This is where people are booking over the past 7 days. So we can see in Chicago, you're getting decent amount of traffic. Most of it's looking like weekends. Yep, it's pretty much all weekends that are getting those little bitty spikes up. Makes sense. But there's pretty consistent activity going into about August. It dies down a little bit here, but there's still some activity. And then you can see there's random people booking Thanksgiving. So that's an indicator people are looking at Thanksgiving right now. They may not necessarily be booking it, but they are looking at it. And I can see that very clearly right here. Now, let's compare it back to where it was last year and see if there's any differences that we see. So I can see right now the 7-day pickup going in the short period. It's not as much as it was last year. The red is below that gray line. That's how I'm indicating that. I'll look over here. Okay, pickup, they're a little bit busier that time. But I think it's really interesting when we look at just last year's, it kind of stops right here. This year, this market, we're seeing that people are booking a little bit further out. Now, it's not a ton, but people are booking a little bit further out and they're already looking at Thanksgiving. Whereas last year, that last 7 days, they weren't looking at that Thanksgiving time, or at least they weren't booking it, so to speak. So this is something that's really useful to help you kind of understand where are people's eyes in your market and what is actually being achieved with bookings. Now, I've spent a lot of time in here. I love this area. I could sit here for hours and hours and talk about the pricing charts and the occupancy charts, but we want to get to the other goodies here as well. In here, this is just a nice little summary of how your market, again, based off that up in the top corner, has been performing. So we can see the market's occupancy average is 61%, but that is broken down for us here by month, and we can compare it now. So one thing to point out, you've got 2023 is this gray, 2024 is that lighter pink, and then 2025 is that darker pink. If we're looking at occupancy in the Chicago market, it is trailing behind January, February, March, April. It's pretty much been behind since December. That would be concerning to me. That's an indicator that I need to be paying attention to this market. The good news is PriceLabs is helping you out with those rates by getting certain days like down here into a much more bookable range for you. So again, you can look over here, check out your booking window, see if things have changed. One thing to point out here, last year, going into May and June, you can see that that booking window compressed. People waited a little bit more to the last minute. I can use this information and say, maybe that's a trend that we might see again. Or looking at more recent data, it looks like it's kind of solidified and just kind of stayed the same. So there's not too much more movement on booking window. You can really rely on this. Length of stay, this is going to be an average length of stay. So you should see lots of 3s and 4s that way. And then if you want to look at ADR and see how things have changed as well, very beneficial. So one thing we can say, occupancy has dipped in Chicago, but ADR has gone up slightly, especially over here in March and right there in December. Um, we can cover this a little bit more. If you have any questions about how to read this market history, please put it in the Q&A. I'd love to chat about that. But this is the area that I want to get to. This is our competitor map. It's big and, it's got a bunch of dots and stuff like that. But what we want you to know about this black icon that you see right there, that's going to be your location. And all of these properties are the ones that we are pulling in that are around you. These can go straight to their Airbnb or to their Airbnb page. So you can click right there, go right to the Airbnb page, have some in-depth, views of them if you want to review their pictures, review how their messaging is and all of that stuff. But we have this competitor calendar area right here. And that is driven by all of this that we see up here. So as you can see in there as well, if you want to, when you're hovering over this, you can click and do add to comp calendar. So we'll do that one right there. This one's right next to me. Add that one to my comp calendar. This one's next to me as well. Add that to my comp calendar also. So just for a quick, obviously, I would want you to do a little bit more due diligence, make sure these properties feel like competitors to you. But if you want to, you can just come in and select a few and give it a try. So let's go in here. If you have any questions about what these dots mean, you can see that that's going to be the average price. So anything red, that's a high priced home. Maybe it's a luxurious home, or maybe it's just somebody that has really, really high rates. But I've gone in, I've selected my 3. I personally prefer this table view. There is a chance whenever you click it, you may start as a chart view. As you can see, there's a reason I like the table view more, but table view now. So I've selected those 3. We can see a lot of information about our competitors now. I've got the last time the price was refreshed, which this is a little concerning, seeing 6 days. Usually don't see that. We usually update every 48 hours or so. But this one may have, something may be going on with it. But generally speaking, that price last refreshed is going to say when PriceLabs last pulled this data from Airbnb. So for my cozy 2-bedroom, we pulled this about 18 hours ago. You can see their cleaning fee, what they have in there for it. And then you can also see their entire rate calendar and their minimum length of stay. For those of us that are trying to figure out our minimum length of stay, you can see the whole calendar going into perpetuity. So we get out here, we can go check and see what the Christmas rates look like. Like, okay, I'm at 197 here. All right, these guys will probably get booked out before me, but that's okay. My house is valuable on Christmas. I want it to stay kind of like that. But this is a really good way for you to hop in there and understand, what it is that people are doing in your market. There's a caveat with this particular area, so I need everybody to pay good attention to this point. If somebody has a discount or something like that on Airbnb and they get booked with it, we don't reflect that. That's not something that you can see in here. And the way that we get this information is that we are scraping it every so often. So you can see we pulled this 18 hours ago. We saw that these dates were available with a 3-night minimum stay at $120. The next time we scrape this, if all of a sudden these dates are not available anymore, we do make an assumption that it was booked out in this because it's not making any pricing decisions or anything like that. We do show it the same as if it were booked or if it were blocked. can't really make that determination. But like this 205, this 174, it was available at 205 and 174. Then all of a sudden it wasn't available. So the assumption is that it was booked out. But again, this doesn't drive anything with the rates. This doesn't change what you're looking at in neighborhood data. Remember, this changes it up here. This area can be super useful for you, especially as you research, especially as you're trying to get ahead of things. If you're in a beach market, you might want to be the first to market because somebody's sitting there looking for it. Looky here, I'm the only person that is available April 26th or April of 2026 in my comp set. That means if somebody wants to come stay in this specific area, I'm the person showing up. Nobody else is. There's an opportunity for me, which is really nice. Okay, so we've covered that a little bit. Again, you've got CSV data here if you want to. That's our market overview. Down here at the bottom, this is going to be just a nice graphical view of what your current minimum stay strategy is. Not super, super impactful by any stretch, but it is nice to see just so instead of having to look at your entire calendar and look at it that way. All right. So little long-winded on this one. I would love to spend another 25 to 5 hours on neighborhood data. I think if you watch any of our videos on YouTube, you'll see that neighborhood data is one place that I'm a big fan of. Again, if you ever have questions while you're in product, hit that little icon down there. Got email support, chat support. You can see updates if you want to. Then you also have plenty of help articles. You can sign up for training through learn how to use PriceLabs. And then one additional thing that I'm going to be excited to announce, Krishna might not be happy with me, but she's building out a full revenue management training course that is currently being tested out. I'm currently on module 3 going through it, but I'm really excited and hopefully we get that out to everybody as well. So now let's hop out and take a look at some Q&A. All right, 27 questions. So let's go. It is a Friday. I don't have anything else coming up after this, so I'm going to try to hit as many questions as I can. If we don't get to you, we will respond to you via email as well. So give me just a moment to pull these up. Nathan has asked, is it possible to set up weekly discount rules, 10% for 7 days, etc., based on the season? Nathan, that's kind of an advanced settings type of a question. There are ways to do that. I don't want to cover it in the masterclass just because I don't want to confuse people and have people randomly try to do things with that. If you will, reach out to support@pricelabs.co and ask how we can help you set that up, and somebody will give you a direct response based off of your account. Aaron, does the minimum stay setting use comparable properties to offer a suggested stay? Passing along something I found for those interested. In a nutshell, we look at the length of stay pattern for similar properties in the area. Okay. So Aaron, your question, does the minimum stay setting use comparable properties? Yes. So essentially what we're doing is the same thing we do with the base price. We're trying to find the 350-ish closest properties that are of similar size, similar location, and then we're looking at that or analyzing those properties for the length of stay patterns. All right. Camilo, should I take PriceLabs prices as the price for the whole apartment? Should I request money for extra people? That's a good question. Extra person fees are very useful. Um, I'm personally not a huge fan of it, but I also don't own properties that I felt have ever warranted it. Certain properties definitely do. So I don't think there's anything wrong with asking for, hey, if there's more than 4 of you, you got to pay me 15 or 20 bucks per person, especially, if you have a cleaning fee that's a little bit lower. So I think you can do that, but keep in mind if you do that, that it will be a part of the rates. You will have to kind of, potentially adjust your base price down slightly if you're asking for more ancillary or if your fees are really, really high versus the market. All right. Ooh, Melissa, good question. In the settings, it has 2 options. So let me hop back over here and share my screen up again. If I can get over there. Come here. All right. Let me share this back up again. Alrighty. So over here, let me get the questions out of the way. So what she's referring to is up here when you hit this icon, you have an option to select nearby listings or market dashboard. If you go into your market dashboards and you build out a comp set that is super specific, meaning you dial it into, even more and you know that it's what you want, you can come in here, select market dashboards, and then you can apply. And I'm selecting Gatlinburg. I don't think I have any comps in there. Maybe I do. But you can now apply a comp set that you've built out in market dashboards. I don't want to spend a ton of time talking about this. This is a very advanced feature, but you would be able to come out and apply a comp set that you've built out. I'm going to hit apply so we can see how different it makes it. But again, I would want you to watch our market dashboards webinar, which is coming up next Wednesday. So hit this little guy, go to our training webinars. But that would be what I would suggest. Let's watch that one and then maybe understand a little bit more about the comp sets. But this is a place that you can come in and apply it at. So I'm going to hit apply real quick. And now we can see because of the comp set that I have in there, which is a really, really high priced comp set, like super valuable homes. Now I can see I'm compared against that and I'm way below the market. So it just helps you tailor it a little bit more, but that is a very advanced use of PriceLabs. One other thing I did not cover in here though is this markup markdown. So this can be useful, and as it says, to help you simulate the final price. So when we talked about potentially having an increase somewhere else, if you like if you've got a 5% or a 10% offset set up on VRBO or Airbnb, and you want to see what your price would look like with that in there as well, you can come in and set it up. So if you want to say, hey, what's my rate look like with an extra $15 on top of it? Maybe you're going to charge 15 bucks if you have one extra person in there. You could do that and it will plot a new line in here for you that's $15 above that current black line that you see. So you see that itty bitty fella up there. That shows our simulated price. Now you can also do it percentage wise if you want to, and hit that and change that from fixed to go percentage. And then we could say, okay, I've got a 5% markup on Verbo that I don't have on Airbnb. Now I can see essentially the black line would be your Airbnb rate, and that little blue line would end up being your Verbo rate. So hopefully that helps with that. And stop sharing my screen. All right, let's get back to those Q&As. Oh, nice. Okay. Elias just asked the question about markup markdown too, so kind of cover that as well. All right, Yanina, sorry about that. Says, why is the set maximum price 350, but the final price is 450? Another great question. I love the observation on certain things that you're seeing. Coming back to my share screen. Hop out of this bad boy. Move that over. And now let's hop over and let's try to figure out why. So what she's saying, I've got $350 as my maximum price right there. We get over this way, I have $450 right here, even though my maximum's 350. So the only way that you can override this maximum price and this minimum price outside of a seasonal profile, which I'll talk about a little bit on Monday for you, is to come in and do a date specific override. That's one of those things I mentioned I am going to cover for sure on Monday, but I've essentially gone in and said, ignore this. I'm coming in and specifically saying, I want my price to be this. So if I came in and I said, I want my price to be $450 and hit add, you'll see that that will now, I'll have to hit save and refresh. Let me hit save and refresh. Now that rate will become 450 as well. So 1 second. All right, so we can see 450 now. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this over and show you if you use percentages. So I've explicitly said you have to be $450. That's overriding that maximum. If I come in here and I say percent change on recommended, and I want a 100% price increase on this, I'm going to hit this. I'm going to do update and refresh from here. We'll see that rate update. In a moment. And now you can see I've got that 100% change on recommended. It's pushed it up to $350 for me right there. So yeah, and if we look at this price calculation, again, we're going to go from top to bottom, base price, go past the market factors, look at the price customizations. That date override that I set up of 100% technically pushed my rate to $351. Because of my rule, though, it does not go up to 351. It sticks at 350. So hopefully that helps you understand that and how you can technically go over this maximum or this minimum. It needs to be a forced rule that you technically manually program in there, essentially like that. All right, so one more minutes. Uh, Bergen, what's the sweet spot to be competitive in the market among the comps? It's a good question. I think the way that if I were just generalizing it, you want to be on your high value days, you want to be in the 50th to 90th percentile area. On your low value days, you want to be in that 25th to 50th percentile area. Again, this is a generalization. If you have a great property, it's a very different way of looking at it, but just in a general sense, I think the sweet spot is to try to be on the lower side on days that are not super busy, and then on the higher side on days that are expected to be busy. And that's one of those things. If you go back and look at the way that our rates were set up on the Chicago listing, we saw a lot of that. The high value days, they spike up high, and then those low value days we keep kind of lower. If you're in a market that, need to be a little bit more flatter or anything like that, reach out to PriceLab or support at PriceLabs.co. If you see anything that's like, hey, I'm pushing this too high or something like that, and somebody will be able to give you some advice on how to straighten that out for you. All right, Melissa. I use Airbnb and Vrbo set up as parent-child. Is there a way to see all the bookings on one graph? Right now, I only see the bookings for whatever profile I'm in. That's a good question, Melissa. I don't have time to cover it right now just because I want to hit so many I want to hit so many questions. So if you will, let us get back to you. Somebody will respond on that one. But there is a way that you can go in and select both of them and look at it together. So I just don't want to take up too much time showing that for you. Right. Irie, how can I use neighborhood data if there are only two other Airbnbs in the area that are on the lake? My concern is them being compared to Airbnbs that do not have the amenities that I have that are waterfront. Um, in that situation, that's one of those where if you truly only have two properties that are right there close to you, I would want you to reach out to support at pricelabs.co. We can do some things on the back end and potentially find some extra data from maybe another lake or something like that. But as you get more in tune with Price Labs, using those market dashboards and creating your own comp set when it's one of those niche cases like that is the best way to do it. I can't go in there and show you that, but if you will, please reach out to support at pricelabs.co and hopefully somebody can help you more specific with that one. All right. Neighborhood data is only Airbnb. You have to toggle the Vrbo listings to see the data, correct? Yes, so we are only presenting Airbnb data in that comp set data in neighborhood data for you. If you want to see VRBO, like if you're in one of those markets that is heavily Vrbo, you we do have an advanced customization to where we can flip it for you. That would be one of those instances. Again, I'm not just trying to kick. Now, what I'm trying to get to you all is support at pricelabs.co's got your back. Any question that you've got, hopefully they'll be able to really get it dialed in and answered for you quickly. But for that one in particular, if you ever want your data to flip from Airbnb to Vrbo, you can do that. Just reach out to support at pricelabs.co and they'll help you with that. AR hit me with a dot, so I'm going to hit you with a dot back. Dot. All right. What guidance would you share for unique property structures that don't really compare to anything else in your market? It's hard to just say it, without knowing a little bit. I would say that it's of the utmost importance in those situations to utilize our market dashboards feature. Because you will be able to see broader data even though it's not going to be exactly the same, we do want to be able to pick up on market trends, demand trends in similar locations. If you have something that is, just a one of one type of a property, again, I don't want to, kick it down the line or whatever. But inside of the classes that Karishma is getting ready to put together that should be out fairly soon for you, I do an account review and inside of Airbnb and how you can go in and look at comps that way. That may be the best way for you in this situation if it's a one-on-one type of a home. So ARSE that you said, yeah, it's one-on-one. So if you will reach out to support at pricelabs.co, maybe somebody can take a look at your account and give you a little bit of more personalized advice in that. Can the neighborhood data be filtered for properties with special utilities like beach access or private pools? That's a great question. As of right now, it is not set up that way. You can build out those comp sets in the market dashboard that are only for private pools or only pet friendly and have 4.9 stars and at least 10 reviews and all of that stuff. You can build those out in market dashboards. I would want you to attend the market dashboard webinar to try to learn a little bit more about that. Um, but I do think as an overall moving forward, PriceLabs is going to start bringing in a lot more of that information. I think where you'll see it first in neighborhood data is going to be like an extra bar in the comp set area. So like it would say, amenity, private pool, amenity, pet friendly or whatever. I think that's where we're going. I don't have a timeline or anything like that, but to long answer your question, market dashboards are going to be the best way to build up that type of a comp set for you. And that is upcoming Wednesday. So please register for that if you'd like to. Let's see. Marty says, is there a way to remove days you block for yourself from occupancy calculations? Yes, there is. So not necessarily like on that chart in neighborhood data, if that's what you're asking for. It's going to show up as either a block or a state. It's just one gray. But in the overall metrics that you're looking at, we show total occupancy. Total occupancy, it shows a block essentially as a piece of the occupancy or a stay date. Switch those over to adjusted occupancy. That will remove blocks from it. So essentially, if you have a month with 30 days, 4 days are blocked out, your occupancy calculation would be divided by 26 instead of divided by 30. So that would be my suggestion on that is look at the oh Lord, I just lost my train of thought there. Look at adjusted occupancy. There it is. There we go. All right. Does the market history section reflect the broad filters at the top of the dashboard or the custom comp set chosen? Great question. It reflects the broad filters that you choose up top. Right, David, there's some really high-end properties in my market, which is a small mountain town. I'd say mine is a mid-level property. PriceLabs recommended much higher prices than is realistic. What do you recommend I do? I'm using the maximum price to manage it, but is there a way for PriceLabs to use the data and neighborhood based on my competitors I choose? You can update the neighborhood data to the competitors you choose, but that's not going to overall impact the market signals and everything we're looking at without being able to like really look at your setup and what you're trying to achieve. The first thing that I think of in that situation, you've kind of already identified, hey, there's a lot of these that are high end. PriceLabs is looking at me and kind of bouncing me up that way. I would say look at your base price, and if you're currently doing like that mid-tier level, look at potentially splitting it between economy and the mid-tier, or take that economy base price and give that a try. Hopefully that helps out with it. If it does not, reach out to support at pricelabs.co. We do have customizations that can assist with that. I don't want to cover, again, I'm not trying to get super advanced in the customization and everything, but there is always a use case. That was one of the things I talked about with all those advanced customizations. Most people don't need them. Occasionally you might, and in that situation, you might benefit from it. So reach out to support at pricelabs.co. Is there a way to change the color since the light gray is similar to the dark gray? Sam, I wish there was a way to change the colors. Give that feedback to our team though, for sure. Tim says, how far in advance should I allow bookings? That's a great question. If you're talking about like opening up your calendar, to me, open your calendar up as far as you possibly can. PriceLabs technically sends 540 days in advance for you. That to me is ideal. You want to be able to get bookings that are more than a year out. But you also want to make sure that your minimum length of stay and your pricing reflects how far out that is and that it's enticing. You don't want to be underpriced. You don't want, somebody to take your Friday of a 4th of July weekend for 2026 at, you know, a 2 night stay type of a deal. So, and my advice would be let PriceLabs price you 540 days in advance. Utilize the far out premium that we have. That's there to protect you on those further out days. And then make sure that you have a minimum stay rule that's protecting you far out as well, which if you use the minimum stay recommendation engine, it'll be taking care of you in that sense. All right. Sherry says, could the market lag have to do with the number of rentals going up? That very well could be. Technically, though, with where we're looking at in neighborhood data, that supply demand isn't going to have as much of an impact because of its hyper local. Now, if you're in a super, super dense market, Chicago, the one that I was showing you, there is a good chance that, okay, it's a big broad market. We're looking at 350 out of 10,000. Maybe some of the people moved over into this area that's not around the Wintrust Arena, so to speak. That could have something to do with it. It's really important to understand, though, if you see consistent, you know, last year it was ahead of this year, you need to probably go ahead and look at adjusting that base price. You're going to get a recommendation from PriceLabs to do it. The better you get at kind of being intuitive with it, the better it'll work out for you. Uh, let's see. Tamara, will PriceLabs ever pull in Verbo data for the competitor map? We do have that capability. Want you to reach out to support@pricelabs.co to be told exactly how to do that. But if you want, and again, it's only Airbnb or Verbo, and you can flip back and forth between it. But you'll need to reach out to support@pricelabs.co for that to happen. Okay, in the market history, can I multiply the ADR with the market occupancy to know the expected revenue? Um, Mohammed, you can do that as just I wouldn't say do it as fact. You're going to do that as more of, kind of like a little bit of a guess, so to speak. But yes, you can use it in that sense. I would not rely heavily on that though, because they are averages and it has to do with how everybody performs. You don't know how those people have their rates set up. You don't know if they're doing minimum length of stay right. I would be I would be leery of relying too much on that for expecting what you can make in the revenue. Now, PriceLabs, if you go up to market research, we do have a revenue estimation tool. So if you want to go and play with that, if you haven't done it before, you should have a free credit in there. But that revenue estimation tool is what I would do for trying to figure out any expected revenue. Uh, It'd be good to see how the competitors are performing on the map. Agreed, Camilo. Don't really know how they would pull that off, but I'll definitely get that feedback to the team. I think that would be kind of cool if, like performers that are, performing pretty well are indicated by a color or something like that as well. Uh, in competitor map calendar, when you hover over property, how's the occupancy calculated? I see very high occupancy rates, but the calendar seems pretty open. Amy, unfortunately, I don't have that answer, and I don't want to just kind of like give you something that I think it is. So if you will, let me have our team respond back on that. And then to the overall group on Monday, I'll come back with that answer as well. Now that Airbnb and Vrbo have incorporated taxes and cleaning into the booking price, it's less effective to see only the booked booking price on PL. That's not really a question, Beth. That's more of a statement. But I think what you're getting at is like the overall stay price, and what PriceLabs is looking at is the rate for you. So we can't necessarily say like, you know, obviously taxes matter and everything like that, but cleaning fees completely arbitrary. Hopefully, as we get more into, and I talked a little bit about how we're getting ready to release a new base price help tool. If your cleaning fee is higher than the market, it's actually going to tell you, hey, we need to bring that base price down. I think that's going to be very, very impactful as we move forward. Again, you want to use neighborhood data though as direction, and it's not foolproof. It's not 100% accurate. It's very directional, but it helps you understand what other people are doing. You can rely pretty heavily on, okay, that person may be around $200 for their rate. And again, if it hasn't been updated in more than 48 hours, it's a little bit less reliable as well. So keep that in mind as well. Uh, Sheila asked, what is NA? I'm assuming that means on the competitor calendar. Anytime we see NA, that means that it has never had that starting point. So it was never available. It never had a rate in there. It's just essentially like, hey, this person's blocked out, so to speak. So like when we looked into, I think it was June of 2026, and I was the only person that had any rates, and all of theirs said NA, they essentially don't have anything available at that time, so we can't pull it. All right. Is the market-driven customization pulled from the neighborhood data? The market-driven customization is essentially pulling a little bit from that same area. There's a lot more nuance to it, but I think the simplest way to think of it is your market-driven customization is going to be based off of what you see in neighborhood data and that performance. Now, ADR is not going to have an impact on that, but when we see that the occupancy is trailing behind, that is one of those things that's impacting your rates. And yes, it does influence the market-driven customization. So yes, is the answer. On Airbnb, there's a setting for service fee. How can I know which one my competitors are using? This is going to change final price. Unfortunately, that was one of the things I talked about with the competitor calendar at the very beginning. We don't have a way of seeing where fees and discounts have been added in and things like that. Hopefully we get to that point very, very soon. But right now we just don't have that available for you. John, I'm not a data guy, swing hammers, but understand the importance of this. Does PriceLabs have any plan to fully automate this with just requiring approvals for users for suggested changes? We may have something planned out, may have some things being worked on right now to make life a little easy. I think the minimum stay recommendation engine is a big step forward. Ultimately, we want to have a tool that, 5, 10 years from now is self-driven as possible. Still got to swing the hammer a little bit when it comes to PriceLabs, though. So appreciate y'all joining us. But that one, let's see what else we got. First class, you said, is better to be a little higher priced and not 100% full, which I agree with. Question is PriceLabs already doing this for us, or do we up the prices by a percentage? So essentially, we are doing that for you. We're not necessarily just targeting like 70% occupancy. We're looking at the whole calendar every single day and trying to figure out. So like we're looking today on the 30th at your August 11th and trying to figure out there's 100 options, 100% booked, 1% booking, 2%, 3%. We're trying to identify the absolute best rate for you to try to get you ultimately at that nice little mixed level, so to speak. So I don't know. I can't really hit this and give you full detail about like exactly how we calculate everything. But yes, PriceLabs is working to get you at that nice cross section of ADR and occupancy. That's the ultimate goal. And that's how you ultimately generate the most revenue as well. Let's see. Neighborhood data, don't you have to toggle to the child listing to see the Verbo if Airbnb is parent tab? Beth, I'm not 100% sure on that one. So I'm gonna let our team get back to you on that one. So you gotta look at everything at the same time. Can you share that? That's one of those things, Beth. Unfortunately, we don't combine Airbnb and Verbo anywhere in PriceLabs. The reason for that is because there's so much overlap. I've got a property on Airbnb that's on VRBO. If we combine that data, it can get a little bit more dicey, especially if Verbo's presenting, blocks in one way and then Airbnb presents it another way. There's a lot of nuance to combining those two. That's why we present them separate. I know it doesn't necessarily benefit you, and hopefully we can get to something where it's like an overlay. Maybe graphs have like an Airbnb and a Verbo line. Right now, we just don't have that available for you, but that's feedback I'll take back to the team as well. Swathi, have you covered Orphan Day settings? I guess technically, no, I didn't really, because I was trying to get us all into the minimum stay recommendation engine. Let me take note of that and talk with Karishma, and we'll try to extend Monday out a little bit, and I'll cover some Orphan Day settings as well if you have to manually do that. Right. I'm in a VIP house and cannot have direct bookings. All guests have to ask and we have to confirm. How can I use PriceLabs best in this situation? I'm not 100% following on that, Marianne. So if you will you we'll have somebody respond to you on that. If you want to clarify in another Q&A, that would be really helpful as well, I think. Uh, Amy asked about seeing parent and child together. You can, so essentially, when you go into portfolio analytics and you're looking at all of your data, you can go in there and there's a filter listings area. What you would want to do is just make sure you're selecting both of them. That I think is the easiest way that I can explain for you to kind of view both of them together. If that doesn't help with what you're asking for, though, again, please reach out to support@pricelabs.co. Still got 150 of y'all in here. Thanks. Appreciate it. Let's keep looking. What's the review rating threshold that once below Airbnb punishes heavily? This is actually an awesome question, Robin, and it's not something that's PriceLab specific. I just got back from doing a roadshow with Guesty and with Airbnb and with another vendor as well. And one of the things that Airbnb was talking about is how heavily 4.8 star and book 4.8 star and higher is getting booked versus the rest. Anything below 4.8 gets less than 10% of the bookings. So that is a huge, huge milestone for you. 4.8 stars is what everybody should be striving for in the current environment. And that is directly from Airbnb, that 4.8 is what they're looking for. They want as many people to be eligible for, I can't think of what it is, not top rated seller. Not Superhost either. What is it? What's somebody hit me in the chat with what their new thing is. Guest favorite. Yes, thank you. Guest favorite is what they are trying to get you to achieve. If you are not going to be a guest favorite sometime in the future, you can essentially say like, I may need to reset my listing, so to speak. But that's the ultimate goal of what they're trying to get for. What's the criteria for guest favorite? I don't know off the top of my head. I know it is very, very highly rated. So I think it's 4.9 star for guest favorite, attentive communication, things like that. But unfortunately, I can't really get there. Saw something about can you hit close? Are y'all seeing the question? Close. Should be able to. Oh, okay. Never
That
mind.
was me.
That was you. That was you. Thank you. Appreciate it. In the competitor calendar, when I look at the table chart, I see all the competitive properties and associated metadata and my own. However, my cleaning fee is blank and the competitor data is filled. Why would this be? So, great question, Greg. Unfortunately, the way PriceLabs connects to your PMS or to your Airbnb or to your Vrbo right now does not pull back that cleaning fee. That is something that we are currently trying to work in. So you should see your cleaning fee available sometime in the near future. Right now, it's just a matter of how we pull the data in, and we didn't pre-program the cleaning fee stuff in there, so to speak, but it's definitely something that's coming for you. Amy, last year I had a guest cancel their reservation since the amount due for the stay increased due to my adjustments in PriceLabs. Follow recommended base price. She must have paid only partially when she made the reservation. If a guest pays partially when they make a reservation, is there a chance that their balance will be higher or lower when they pay their balance? Amy, that's a good question. I've never heard that. From my experience, whenever you have somebody that does that half pay thing, it's their rates locked in. If you have a property management system you're using, or if it was directly with Airbnb, I would say in that situation, reach out to support@pricelabs.co. Let us know what you're using. We'll be able to see it as well. But there's no way that you should ever have a rate go up if somebody's already started booking it. That seems like it might have been an issue with the property management system or something like that. Andrian, I'm sorry. How can I get an additional token for the revenue estimator? I'm interested in the revenue management course. Heck yeah, we're excited. Hopefully everybody's interested in it. If support's probably not going to like me too much, but if you want an extra revenue estimator token, send an email to support@pricelabs.co and tell them Kyle said to give you a revenue estimator token, and I'll look forward to seeing how many tickets they end up getting for that one. All right. And then the last question I've got, follow up on the last minute booking surge situation. Does the algo detect a sudden spike and resync the prices immediately after adjustment instead of once every 24 hours? Robin, great question. That is not something that we do right now. As we've been developing our tool out and working more with hotels, we've seen how important that is. So that is something that is currently in development. Right now, though, we are not doing that instantaneous sync out or anything like that. But it is definitely something that we are currently working on and seeing as an opportunity as well. So, all right. Well, I've gotten to most of these. Guys, thank you all so much for sticking around. I hope you've enjoyed this, the masterclass for the first 4 days. We'll see you on Monday. Make sure you fill out the quiz. Hopefully, we get to do a live review. If you're not selected, please come in for the live review so you can kind of see what it is that we do. I'm really looking forward to seeing you guys on Monday. Thank you all so much and have a great weekend. Be safe. Bye bye.